All right. I think we are live. Where are you? There you are.
Hello.
Hi. So we are going to be discussing the Tyre Nichols incident and talking about it. And I brought my friend Q along. She's also known as Carol.
Carol.
In my satire videos. And we're going to be discussing the Tyre Nichols video because I didn't actually watch it, but she did. I didn't watch the George Floyd video when that came out. The reason why I don't watch these videos is because, one, I don't like that it's always only black men that they like to show America dying and these graphic videos, and it's only done of black men. It seems very ritualistic and like creepy to me because there's people that die all the time in this country and there's videos of it, yet why are they forcing America to only watch black men die, okay? And then secondly, I'm very sensitive. It will never get out of my head when I see these kind of graphic videos. So I decide not to watch them just because I'll have nightmares about them. So I did not watch the Tyre Nichols video. I did not watch the George Floyd video. Hi everybody, thank you for coming on. But yeah, so I haven't watched the video, but I know the specifics of the case. I know what's going on. I know what happens. I've seen descriptions of it. Same with George Floyd. Like I know that he said he couldn't breathe before he went down on the ground and stuff like that, but I did not watch the video. Anyways, my friend Q, she has seen the video, and she actually follows someone that's an excellent resource for this type of stuff. Who is it again?
His page is The Real Nathan Daly. Shout out to Nathan Daly. Mm-hmm. Nathan and I talk often through YouTube, so he is a fantastic resource. He calls himself the law enforcement interpreter, and he does a great job just trying to explain kind of the nuances of law. And he's a former law enforcement officer himself, and he tries to just kind of explain that nuance of what it is to be a law enforcement officer. He's kind of an equal opportunity critiquer, so he critiques the criminal, he critiques the law enforcement officers, and really just does a great job kind of breaking it all down.
So again, who is that?
The Real Nathan Daly is his page.
Okay, so yeah, he's a former police officer that basically goes through all of these cases that make the news. And that's the other thing is, for the last year and a half, we haven't heard the black guy getting killed by cop headline for at least a year and a half. It wasn't pushed in the news because they didn't want BLM to pop off. And in fact, 2022 actually had some of the highest amount of people being killed by police in 2022, but we didn't hear about it in the news because they didn't want people to pop off, right? So they pick and choose when we're supposed to hear about these narratives, which I find it interesting that it's happening right now. What are they trying to cover? What are they trying to cover up? What are they trying to, because there's body cam images, body cam video of all police have body cams now, and all the people that died in 2022 in the hands of the police were not released and not shown to the public because they didn't want people to pop off until now. So a lot of this is just emotional manipulation, and I really don't like that the media picks and chooses who we are supposed to care about. So I'm seeing a lot of people like, I cried watching that video. And I'm sure it's terrifying to watch, and it does make people cry, and it makes you emotional to see a man being beat up like that. But at the same time, the media is picking who you are supposed to care about, because there are people that die all the time, tragic deaths, but they don't make the news. There's children being caught in crossfire in Chicago every single weekend, does not make the national news. So that's the other thing I don't like about it, is it's an emotional manipulation of people and their emotions, and so it gets them to act. And I think that what they want is a police state. So I think that BLM and all of their riots and their craziness causes more of a police state. Like, it's going to create more chaos, and they are going to be the catalyst to create more of a police state in our country, which we don't want, right? So yeah, so what are your thoughts on, because you've seen the analysis by that police officer and you've actually seen the tape, because again, I did not watch the video.
Yeah.
So
I watched most of Nathan's stream last night. He did a live kind of analysis through the whole thing. His analysis are very long, which makes it difficult to watch all in one sitting. It's about 6 hours long, so it's a lot to
that is a lot.
But he's very thorough, which is why I like him. So I typically have to kind of break it up into sequences to watch the whole thing. But he went through all of it from the beginning when they initially pulled this young man over and tased him and he ran away, to when we got to the final kind of incident where we saw, the footage from the poll camera of him being beat.
Do you think there's people that are saying that this was personal? What do you think of that?
I mean, I haven't seen any evidence of
Yeah.
that. We haven't. There's. I think at this point it is so early too that there's a lot that's still not said.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So there's a lot I think still left to come out. I think that it wouldn't be far-fetched. I just haven't seen any evidence of that, so I really don't know.
So these 5 cops were actually hired in an initiative. There's a video that you can watch from 2019 of the Memphis Police Department saying, we are going to make an effort to hire more Black police officers. We are a Black community. I think Memphis is 64% Black. It's 64% African American. And they are doing this effort to hire more Black police force. So they actually lowered the requirements to become a police. They lowered the standards to become a police officer. And all 5 of these cops were hired with the lowered standards. So this is affirmative action at work.
And weren't they, if I'm not mistaken, weren't they hired for like it's a special
Scorpion
specific,
unit
Scorpion unit.
Yeah.
They do a lot more of the kind of the nitty gritty street crime. So, and fair enough, they see some of the more kind of grimy crime.
Yeah.
In fairness, but yeah, I mean that's clearly
Yeah.
there's
So these
something
5
wrong.
cops were the standards were lowered for these police officers to be hired. And this is why I've always been against lowering of standards, affirmative action, all that kind of stuff, because it brings everything down. It brings everything down. When you bring in a bunch of people that don't meet the standard in your organization or in your college or in your police force or in your firefighting department, which can we not do that? I don't want to have firefighters and police officers
Not qualified.
not qualified. I don't care what color they are. Just make sure they're qualified, right?
Which is funny because isn't that like what they don't want? Like
Yes.
these activists, they don't
Yeah.
want that.
Yeah.
So it's like they're working against themselves constantly.
Well, that's what this whole thing is. Like I said, BLM is going to contribute to a more police state. If we have these crazy riots in every single major city, which that's another thing that I want to say. These incidences are always happening in blue cities. They have a problem with their police departments. They really do. These blue cities are not run very well. They're run by Democrats. They're run by corrupt people. And of course, the government institutions of those cities are going to be corrupted as well. So for example, Chicago has more incidences of teachers that are raping, and I think it was like 200 or something that's come out, that are hurting children in these blue cities. They're just terribly run cities, period. And it's going to interpret itself in the police department. So if we're going to blame anyone, we really should be blaming the way they're running these cities. Yeah. And then the other thing about Memphis is that it's actually 64% Black, but 93% of the violent crime that is happening in that city is Black people. So there is a higher rate of Black Americans doing crime in that city because of, again, blue cities. They don't run them right. They are toxic for Black culture, right? And they are the ones that are committing the majority of the incidences that are happening that involve the cops. So it's making it for there to be more negative interactions with the police with Black Americans. I mean, that's something we've all known. And I get a lot of hate for that when I say that the reason why we see a higher, statistical amount, if you look at like at the actual proportion of Black men that are, being shot by cops, it's higher, right? If you, it's because there is more interaction with the police. And I shared today, I did a long post about it today, where I used to have more interaction with the police. When I was 19 and on drugs and you're partying a lot, you just have more exposure to police because you're out.
You're doing wrong
Yeah, you're
things.
out at 2:00 in the morning doing dumb stuff, and you have more exposure. So we have to take that into consideration. You don't see videos of older Asian women getting beat up by the cops, but I'm sure if they were doing crime at the same rate of, Black America, then we would be seeing more of that. And it's young Black men, really. It's mainly young Black men. And that's just something that's the reality we need to face. And it's not a white supremacist talking point to point that out. It's actually because we care. I care. I don't want young Black men to get into this pattern of just being around the police all the time because they're doing stupid stuff. But anyways.
There's one really good resource. My husband and I use it frequently when we're trying to kind of break down statistics. I want to say it's blackstatistics.com or blackstatistics.org. And it's a site run by Black people about Black statistics. And it goes into crime, marriage, single parent homes. I mean, it's kind of a whole litany of different topics, but it's a really good resource. It's either.com or .org. I guess we could put it in the description at the end.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
And this is what, we have a comment here that says Black families have been broken up, which is so true.
100%.
And if you look at the statistics of fatherlessness, and this is across any race, fatherlessness is one of the worst things. If you want to destroy culture, get fathers out of the home, which happened in the 70s. It happened in the 70s when they literally incentivized fatherlessness. You were not allowed to pick up a welfare check if the man was in the home.
Right.
So the man had to move out for you to get your welfare check. And it broke up the families. And then it also created this, why take care of my kids if the government's going to take care of them? Horrible stuff that's been happening in the Black community that's decimated it.
What were we just saying, was it yesterday we were talking about how the 90s were like, everybody started getting divorced in the 90s, like late 80s and 90s, that was like the divorce era or whatever. It caught on and it picked up, like in the 70s it kind of started and then it kept snowballing, and that's when it started to affect all demographics.
Yes.
Was in the 90s.
Exactly. So yeah, Tyree Nichols, they're trying to blame white supremacy for this. I think this is, what kind of ludicrous world are we living in where 5 black cops in a majority black city,
governed by black people, Democrats, are now being blamed, it's now being blamed on white supremacy. I don't understand, and they will do backflips to try and justify this. So the way they justify it is they say, oh, it's because it's a white supremacist system, right? I mean...
But you know what? So does that mean that all the good systems are white supremacists too? Like, we have a lot of good in this country, so if we're just going to label every system that we've built in this country because it happened to be founded by white people, are we just going to can we dismantle sewage systems too? Like, is that white supremacy?
I think the sad thing is the revolutionists would probably say yes.
Yeah, let's just all poop in buckets again, because that was invented by, it's just ridiculous to me that they're able to label this and as white supremacists and get mad about it as something that's white. And what's sad is that when I saw this first come out, I was like, please let it not be white cops.
White cops.
Because if it was white cops, what do you think would have happened?
Oh, God. It'd be even worse. I mean, it's bad enough. People are outraged enough. And the thing about it, I know you haven't seen the video, and I've seen it. So there's justification in outrage. I get it. The problem is that we take it past protesting, which we have a right to do in this country. I will fight for someone's right to do it because we have our rights. And it goes into something that's destructive. Yeah. You can protest without being destructive. And that's the part where we're dancing this line of like normalizing destruction versus just normalizing, if there's something like this, protesting is expected, it's fine, you have a right to do it. But now we're like setting the scene for riots and destruction. Like, it's crazy.
But the other thing is, what are they protesting now? Because the 5 cops have been arrested. Before it was
justice is being served.
Now it doesn't even, the parameters for what to protest and riot and go crazy over, it used to be, it has to be a white cop that, had a fatal incident with a black man or a black woman, and that cop have been arrested. Now it's turning into, it doesn't even need to be a white cop. It doesn't even need to be an Asian cop. It can be a black cop. And they can be immediately, and a black victim, and they can be immediately arrested and charged with murder, and we're still going to go out and riot and loot and burn and murder or whatever they do at these protests, which I actually think they've slowed down because it's wintertime.
It's cold. And I think it was the mayor, the police chief in Memphis, was pretty smart the way that she set this up, because she arrested the officers first. Yeah. Clearly this has been known because there's already been justice action taken on these officers, and then the tape was released. So I think that was important for her to kind of set that scene. Like, we've already done our due diligence in-house. We've arrested these officers, charged them. Now we're going to let the public see what's going on. Yeah. I think that was smart, actually. Yeah. So kudos to her for that.
Yeah. So, and then the other thing is what they're demanding now, the people that are protesting, is because now, like, it's not about justice anymore, because these 5 cops have been arrested or whatever.
And I think they should go to prison for life.
They want no black men to ever be killed by the police, ever.
Right.
And I think that's impossible. It's kind of like the zero COVID the zero
China
COVID in
policy.
China, right? It's just never going to happen. As long as we still
It's not
have
reality.
violent crime and people resisting arrest, we're going to have these type of incidences.
Yeah.
So we're basically in a never-ending loop with this. There's always going to be a case like this, especially now that the perimeters
The
are so
goalposts
broad.
are constantly moving,
Yeah.
which is frustrating.
Yeah. And they want to abolish the police. I know Black Lives Matter right now is specifically calling for police to stop doing traffic stops. So that means that, you know, when someone's drunk driving or someone's speeding or someone ran a red light or, you know, did cause an accident, no police officers. And I think about this and I'm like, so who's going to do that?
Because it's really interesting. If you research the statistics of traffic stops, I think FBI or whatever, you can look at this, how many crimes they discover through traffic stops. I mean, I remember an incident maybe within the last 6 months where the cops pulled a woman over for something that she had done, discovered that she had her dead niece and nephew in the trunk, the auntie. So this happens all the time. You find secondary crimes because you're pulling over someone for a traffic violation. It happens all the time. So, like you said, who polices that?
And who's going to do it? So if someone is, so let's say they replace police with an unarmed,
A therapist?
I wouldn't do that job. Like unarmed pulling people that are drunk.
It's one of the most dangerous exchanges that officers have, actually.
Yeah.
Is pulling someone over. Lots of officers are killed.
Yeah.
Being pulled over.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
So.
And that's the main push right now of the official Black Lives Matter organization right now is they want no more police at traffic stops. No more police pulling people over for, and of course they are calling to abolish the police. They also want to abolish prisons. And it's like, so where are you going to put the police that you don't like? So everyone's like these 5 murderers, right?
Yeah.
They all want them to be arrested and tried, but wait a second, they're black men, so now
but you don't want them in prison.
You don't want them in prison. Yeah, where does this fit, guys? Where does
true.
this fit? And they're doing gymnastics to try and make this fit into the white supremacist narrative.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Anyways, I just wanted to go live with my friend Q. She's awesome, and I like having someone to talk to. She's also known as Carol in my satire videos. She is conservative Carol.
Conservative cousin Carol.
Yeah.
Let me just add too. One of the things, shout out to Nathan Daly. He is amazing, and one of the things that I really appreciate about Nathan is he is always sharing solutions. He's very solution based, which I respect immensely. So one of his solutions, which I really, really appreciate, is that he really wants officers to be trained better, right? Because one of the points that he makes all the time is that oftentimes officers lose their cool, grab their firearm, which happens because they're not trained properly. So one of the things that Nathan is a really big advocate of is officers being trained in hand-to-hand kind of combat, if you will, because they're often engaging with people that are very combative. So, and then they'll kind of like go to the default, which is easy because they don't know what else to do. So he's a big advocate for this type of training so the officers know better how to handle incidences like this. I don't know how that would kind of play in with these officers. Honestly, these officers, if you see the video, they seem completely unhinged. Like it's completely insane. So I don't really know if this kind of training would have even done anything for these guys. They seem just completely off the rails. But generally speaking, this is of course the exception to the rule. Cops in general do not act like this.
Yeah, it's actually 0.003% of police interactions that end with an incident like this. 0.003%. Right now, there's a police officer that is talking someone out of suicide.
Absolutely.
Right now, there's a police officer that's answering to a domestic violence call. Right now, there's a police officer that's rescuing someone from an overdose. You know,
from child abuse.
They're dealing with so much. That's why I used to love Live PD. I loved those shows. Yeah. Those shows were the best. It was actually in the place that I used to work, Salinas, California, where I taught. Live PD was in that city because it was such a, it was a gang capital of California. And you watch these shows and you see what these men deal with, and you're just like, I could never do that. I do not have the patience that. Men and women, of course, but like it's an extremely challenging job, and I can kind of relate to it as a teacher because you're dealing with people all day long and people and their emotional issues and all that kind of stuff, and you have to keep your cool. And when you're having a bad day, I used to warn my students, because every once in a while I would have a bad day as a teacher, and I'd warn them. I'd be like, guys, I'm just not in the mood today. Just not in the mood today. You can't, as a police officer, that's I think that they need to have a more generous leave with, and then the unions.
Pay needs to be better.
The unions are a problem, just the same as teachers' unions. They do protect cops that have multiple incidences with the public that are not ethical, that are not in their training, but the union will go because they're always there to protect the cops, just like how they're always there to protect the teachers.
Yep.
I've seen teachers who have molested children and were protected by the unions. So we have to remember that and if they're not talking, these people that hate the police or whatever, they're not talking about the unions, they're disingenuous, because that is where if there is going to be corrupt cops and messed up cops,
cover-ups,
that's where there's going to be cover-ups, exactly, and allow them to get back out when they shouldn't be, when they're obviously not very emotionally stable. Yeah. And then the other thing with the police is that it's not enough. I don't think it is enough training. Like it's not. 10 months, I think. Like, I mean, you could be 19.
More different. Like obviously, there's kind of more. So I come from a military family. My personal situation. So like in the military, they have like special ops, right? And they do like special things. So the cops will have something similar where you have some cops that are like special ops, and they do like more. Not your everyday pulling people over kind of thing. So you do have cops that are more specially trained, but generally speaking, these police officers don't.
I know you can become a police officer at 19. Like if you graduate and you're 18 and you can go to police academy and you become a police officer at 19 years old. Yeah. As opposed to a teacher, you have to go 4 years and then another year, so 5 years to become a teacher. So I do
have these men who don't have fathers.
Yeah.
Becoming, it's interesting how much fatherlessness impacts everything.
Yeah,
because these men are coming in, and women, honestly, women are just as affected by not having fathers, and they come in and they are not developed just generally. So they're not disciplined. They don't have level heads. They're very emotional. I mean, that's just society in a nutshell at this point. So you've got these young people coming in who really haven't had guidance to start with. And now they're coming in with all of this power and all of this responsibility. And this is coming from people who are very supportive of the police. Mm-hmm. But you can be supportive of the police and still be able to point out where
there's
issues
flaws.
are.
Same with teachers as
100%.
Well. Yeah, and there's a debate about my name pronounce it. It's Collie, like cauliflower. Yeah. But I don't mind Callie. When I was little, I didn't like my name Collie. I was like, because people would be like the lassie dog Collie. So I'd be like, Callie's fine, right? But now I like Collie, so it's Collie. And I also want to thank Smokey over the line for a super thanks. My channel is, even though it's monetized, I get demonetized all the time. I think I make about $20 a month, so I appreciate the super thanks so much. I'm new to all of this. I don't even ask people to subscribe, and they still come and support me. So thank you. And we just wanted to discuss this because it's in the news right now. I actually noticed that they already dropped it though. I went on CNN today and it's like gone, and I'm like,
I think it's going to be really interesting to see how things progress because. Like I said early on, there is a lot that is still not even being said at this point. So there's a lot to uncover. There's a lot to be said. I think we're going to learn a lot of different things in the coming weeks for sure. Yeah. About the victim and the police officers.
Yeah. And or they're going to drop it from the news.
Or they'll drop it.
It doesn't have enough power to make people.
Narrative.
Yeah, exactly. And they're just going to move on to a new one. And if they're really in BLM season right now, get ready for the next one. Because like I said, last year the super thanks, we get the whole thing. I think, I'm not sure, super chats or whatever, I don't know what those are called, but yeah, we get the whole thing. So when George Floyd happened, remember how they found another one to keep the crowds going? There was the Jacob Blake, there was they brought back ones from back in the day,
and then that girl that tried to stab her friend and the cops
yes.
shot her.
Oh yeah.
Like a million
so
things.
they were just letting them happen over and over again, and then as soon as Biden was installed, it stopped. That whole year, 2021, can you name a single person, say the name of any of those people? 2022, can you find anyone?
And guaranteed, they were still happening.
So if they want BLM to pop off right now, just get ready. There's going to be another one that comes out in the next couple weeks. Yeah. So if they really want this to continue to create more civil unrest, which I think is what they're trying to do, we're going to hear another headline like this pretty soon. And it'll probably be a white cop this time, which I think will make people more angry. So... Anyways, welcome to Clown World, and God bless you guys. Thank you so much for joining us live, and thank you so much to Carol. I mean, no, actually it's Q for coming on, and we're gonna actually have her on again. I wanted to do a podcast episode with her on military and vaccines. I can't do it on YouTube just because they're so strict on that. And
we're gonna figure out a way to do it.
Yeah, I already have a couple strikes on my account. So I really need you guys to find me on Rumble. I'll post that link in this video. Find me on Rumble because I'm going to try and post on there more. It's free there. Also, Twitter is pretty good right now. I've been on Twitter, so if you're on Twitter, find me there. But yeah, God bless you guys, and see you next time. Bye.